Hey everyone, I am going to be once again redoing my Kingdom Hearts 3 custom weapon model tutorial. This is going to be basically the same thing, but I have refined my process, made it a little bit easier to follow and just quicker. And we're also going to be using weapon models instead of the M generic material. We're going to be using weapon materials instead of M generic material, which will let the weapon fade properly and overall just look a lot better. So basically, we're going to go through the whole thing again, starting with finding your model in the game and extracting it. So what you're going to want to do is download the custom build of UModel, which will be linked in the description. This is a custom build made by Blaster Grimm that basically just makes it a lot easier to export or open the Kingdom Hearts 3 files specifically. So download this, you're going to have the two exes and umodel.cfg along with a couple other files that you don't really need to worry about, but what you want to worry about is umodel.cfg. You're going to right click it, open it with Notepad++. That is going to be also linked in the description. Very much recommend downloading this because editing some of these things with the basic Notepad is a real pain in the butt, so I recommend Notepad++. So open it with Notepad++. Give it just a second because I have a lot of things open in UModel. Basically, you're going to scroll down or go down to this section under Kingdom Hearts 3. In the path section inside the quotation marks, you're going to want to put where your game installation is. In my case, I have it on my D drive. By default, if you did not change where your game installed, it should be on your C drive under Program Files, Epic Games, KH3, Kingdom Hearts 3, Content, and Packs. You want to select the Packs folder. Then in AES key, you're going to want to go into the Open KH Discord server. In the KH3 modding channel, check the pinned messages, scroll all the way down here. It is a little ways down, but you'll find a message from Narknon on June 20th, 2022. If you want to copy this actual AES key, copy that and put it in here. You'll notice mine is a little different. Mine is an older version of the AES key, which it still works, but I'd say just use Narknon's because it works just fine. But yeah, put that inside the quotation marks there and then save your file. Once that's done, you can close Notepad++. Go back to UModel and let me actually just minimize this. And then, and then go to umodel64.exe, double click it to open it. You'll get this little window. If you edited the umodel.cfg properly, you can just click use KH3 path and OK. That'll automatically go to your file path and put the AES key, which is basically just the decryption key for the files, and then you will be able to open the game's files. So to find the weapon that you are replacing, you're going to want to go into the character folder and then into the web folder. You'll notice all these little codes, W for weapon, and then a little 2-letter, 3-number code for what that weapon is. The 2-letter is the character, and the number is just which number that they assign to that weapon. To find which one you are replacing, you're going to want to go to the openkh.dev website. I can go ahead and let me go to the home page of it to show you how to get here. This is the home page. You click Kingdom Hearts 3, Pawns, and then scroll all the way down to Weapons. So you can choose any of these weapons, basically. I am going to be replacing Starlight in this case, and just Sora's weapons in general are pretty much the same process because they have more steps, but if you want to replace one of the NPC weapons, you can. It's just less steps. You basically only need to do the model and maybe some effect model swaps, but we'll get to that later. So we're going to scroll down and find WSO, that is Sora's weapons. In my case, I am replacing Starlight, like I said. So that's going to be WSO 150. So I'm going to go into the files. I'm going to scroll down in the character/web folder and find WSO 150. model. And in this case, it is going to be the one that is just WSO150 or whatever weapon code it is, _0. That is going to be the weapon. Don't worry about the physics, the skeleton, or the bonomic. You won't have this skelecust. I'll get to that in a little bit, but click export. Select the folder you want to export it to. In my case, it's just inside the UModel folder. For the textures, it'll be TGA by default. You can leave that the same. I have it as PNG for some other reason, but you don't have to change this. And click OK. That will export it. All right, and then we're going to want to open Blender, which is a 3D modeling program. In my case, I have my custom Keyblade in here already. This is for a commission. So I'm, excuse me. Unfortunately, this is not a 3D modeling tutorial. So if you want to learn 3D modeling, you'll have to search elsewhere on YouTube. I am not good enough, in my opinion, to make a tutorial. But anyway, so you're going to open Blender, and with Blender, you're going to want to install a couple custom add-ons to basically import the .psk 3D models, which are from UModel, excuse me, and then export it properly. So you're going to want to go to File, or sorry, Edit, Preferences. Really quick interjection, I forgot to mention here that I am using Blender version 2.93. That is because one of the plugins that I use, called the Giaz Export plugin, it has been updated from 2.93 since I originally started using it, but I tried using the updated version and I had some weird issues that I couldn't figure out. So I am still using version 2.93. The version of Giaz that I am including in the description is for Blender 2.93, and the link for Blender in the description is for Blender version 2.93. So I recommend using that version. You can try with the updated Blender and the updated Giaz export plugin, but just to note, the plugins that I am including are for Blender 2.93, so use that version. And then you're going to want to go into your PC. You're going to want to open this folder, which is going to be in your C drive, Program Files, Blender Foundation, Blender 2.93, 2.93, Scripts, Add-ons. And then in the description, I'm going to have a tutorial files zip. You're going to download that, and then you're going to want to put Giaz Export Tools Master, IO Scene FBX, and IO Import Scene Unreal PSA PSK 280. Put all three of these into this folder here. And then go into the add-ons file and then search for PSK. I had the drop down, but it'll look like this. Just click the check mark, that'll enable it. And then also search for Giaz and enable that with the check mark. And then we're ready to start working on it. So with both of those add-ons enabled, you're going to go into File, Import, PSK. You're going to want to go to where you exported your model. So in my case, I'm in UModel, Export, Game, Character, Web. I have a lot more in here because I've done a lot of weapon replacements, but go and find your one that you extracted. In my case, WSO150, model, WSO150-0. And you're going to import PSK. There we have Starlight. And then now you want to line your custom Keyblade up with the one you are replacing. So in my case, I'm just going to rotate it by -90 degrees, and then again by -90 degrees. So it is oriented properly, and I'm also going to scale it up a good bit. And then just put it down a little bit, and there we go. So that I think is pretty well lined up. It goes beyond it a little bit, but that's fine. But now that it's lined up, you're going to want to, with your select your custom one, your custom model that you're importing. You're going to press Tab, which will enter edit mode. Press A on your keyboard to select everything on there. I also recommend having this little selection on vertex up here, the little dot instead of the line or the square. So vertex, again, press A, make sure everything's selected. press tab to go back into object mode, then select the base game model, press tab again, hold Alt and press A. That will deselect all of the vertices on it, and press tab again to go to object mode, then select your custom model, hold shift, then select the base game model. Both of them will be selected, and the base game model will have a lighter orange outline on it, whereas your custom model will have a darker orange one. I'm going to hold Control and then press J. That will join them together, so they are now one object. Press tab to go into edit mode again. Hold Control and press I to invert your selection. So now the base game model should all be selected while your custom one is not. Then press X on your keyboard and then F on your keyboard. That will delete everything from the base game model. So now our custom model is lined up and ready. There is part of the skeleton of the base game model. Press tab to go back into object mode. Then you will notice, so the next thing we're going to do is rig the model so that it can animate and have chain physics properly. You're going to notice that these bones here, which are for the chains, are not lined up properly. So we are going to fix that. So basically what I am going to do quickly is I'm going to press tab. I'm going to select the skeleton, which are these little black bars, and they'll turn orange when you select it, then press tab. And now you can select the bones with a drag and drop, press the arrow keys here, and move them to where you want them to be. So this first one, you're going to want to have at the base of the chain. These are the anchor points where the chain will be bending while it is being, moved by gravity or physics or whatever. So this is just so that the models can move properly. I am going to line it up to the points where I want it. Now, in my case, I have more of a string-ish chain, but I'm going to treat it like a normal chain. Let's do a little bit different there. I think this will work. Just so we utilize all the bones. Now, this process of rigging it is basically the exact same as I did previously in my old tutorials. So if you want to know how to rig it for a normal chain, just go shoot to that section in my older tutorials. Just go to my channel, scroll back a little bit. You'll see the outdated ones that it has big parts in the title that says outdated, see description. Just watch it. It's really early on in the video to just find the section where I do a normal chain, but it's basically the exact same thing. You're just rigging the pivot points, rigging the parts of the model to the right pivot points. Okay, so now I have it lined up to where I want it to be. I'm going to select my model. You'll notice I don't have little selections here, so I'm going to go ahead and add those in. So I'm going to use the loop cut tool on my string and drag it along to the right point, and do that for all of the bones that need it. And there we go. And now I'm going to go into face select mode because that's a little bit easier. And then I'm going to press this toggle X-ray key up here. This just lets me see through some of the faces. And we're going to rig it. So first of all, so this is the chain 1 bone. We're going to select everything we want on that chain 1 bone, which is just this ring for me. And then we're going to go on the right to this little triangle with the dots on the corners. Scroll up to chain 1. Well, with everything you want to be part of this first chain selected, select or click assign, then deselect. Then select everything you want on the second one, which let me do that really quick. Control L to select, not quite, let me deselect those. So this is chain 2, assign, deselect. Now chain 3, select everything I want in it, do assign, deselect. Chain 4, assign, deselect. And chain 5, assign, deselect. And finally, chain 6, assign, deselect. So now I can show you, and then I'm going to select all of the chains really quickly. Select all of them. Hold Control, press I to invert selection. And then select the wet bone and assign all of that to the wet bone, because that's the actual body of the keyblade will be assigned to the wet bone. Deselect. Okay. So now if I go into, just to show you as an example, if I go into pose mode by selecting object mode up here, or with the skeleton selecting, going to object mode and selecting pose mode, you will see now I can select all these bones and rotate them, and they rotate properly, as you can see. All right, and so I just undid all that, and then I'm going to go back to object mode. So now our weapon is properly rigged. If I go quickly into texture paint, you'll notice that my texture got messed up. That is because the base game's UV maps is named UV single plus some extra ones. I don't need either of those ones. If you do make models, you can name your UV map UV single if you want, just to make it a little quicker. But if you don't, you'll have like a basic UV map, or if you found a model somewhere else, it might be named slightly differently. You just want to delete the base game ones if you don't need them. So it's just yours, and then you'll see now my textures are working properly. And to delete them, you just select them on this UV map section in this section here, and then press minus on the ones you want to delete. So here we go. This is the keyblade, and it is ready to export. So now everything is rigged. What you want to do is make sure your model is triangulated. In my case, you'll notice some of my faces are squares rather than triangles, so I'm just going to press A, and then hold Control and press T. This triangulates it to make all of the faces triangles. And then from there, select the skeleton. Excuse me. And then up in the scene collection section, you're going to want to double click on the name. I'll have it highlighted to rename it. You're going to want to just delete the .ao so it matches the model file name from the base game. You're going to go to Scene Properties. This is with the Gyaz Export plugin. Scroll down a little bit. Uncheck Add Prefixes. Uncheck Detect Mirrored UVs. Select or change Primary Bone Axis to positive Y. And then the destination is where it's going to export. What you want to do is do File, Save As. Save this to where you want to save your Blender file, which is just going to be probably a folder to collectively have all of your files for whatever mod you're making, and then click Save As. That saves the .blend file. And then back to this on destination, click the folder, and then just click Accept. That's going to be in the same folder as your blend file. Then you're going to want to go a little bit further down, uncheck Clear Transforms, uncheck Vertex Colors, uncheck Shape Keys, and then check Pack Objects, and then click Export. Export has been successful. If you get an error, it may be if you forgot to triangulate your faces. It'll say faces that are not triangles or something like that, or there are faces that are quads or non-gons or something to that nature. Again, you're just going to triangulate your model. Or if it says not all vertexes are weighted or something like that, you may have missed something when rigging, so you're going to want to find which vertexes you did not rig and rig those properly. But in our case, it exported properly. So now we are going to jump to Unreal Engine 4. So for modding Kingdom Hearts 3, you're going to need a custom-built version of Unreal Engine. Now, previously, some of the older versions we had like a pre-built zip file or a collection of zip files that you had to export. It has been made a lot simpler thanks to Narknon, who made another custom-built version of the engine, or just updated the older version a lot. But there is a much easier way to install it that I will not be going through in this video, but there is a tutorial for it. If you go into the OpenKH Discord server, go into KH3 Tools forum, the pinned forum thread, it's alpha narc engine install. Open that. At the very top, you'll see a tutorial for how to install this custom built version of the engine. Basically, you follow this tutorial. If for whatever reason the install script that is in here is not does not work, you can also go to this GitHub page and follow this tutorial. Follow the custom tutorial. Excuse me, brain fart. Go to this GitHub page, follow the tutorial that is for the manual installation. Either way will work. It works great, but yeah, this is the custom built version of the engine that you want. You need this in order to do custom weapon mods and most Kingdom Hearts 3 mods. So install this and the Trace Game U project, which this tutorial and the manual install tutorial installs both the engine and the project. Then you're going to want to launch your project, which will be from your project folder. You just double click the U project. If you have followed the setup right, it will then open Unreal Engine 4 in this project. It'll look something like this. You won't have something like the archive folder. That's just for my older mods that I have not really for every time I make a mod, when I'm done with it, I put it in the archive folder, so it's still in the engine, but not in the way of other mods I'm making. But anyway, from here, you're going to want to have this content browser. You might start with the content browser like this. Press this little button here that says show or hide the sources panel. It just makes traveling through the folders much easier. In this section, the main body section with all the folders, you're going to right click, new folder. Name it character in all caps. Basically what we're doing here is we're going to be recreating the file structure to our weapon model from UModel. You're going to skip the game folder. Game and content are the same level. So yeah, skip the game folder, start at character. Inside character, make a new folder called wep. Inside wep, make a new folder that is your weapon ID. In my case, I'm replacing Starlight, so it is WSO150. Inside that folder, make a folder called MDL. Go inside MDL. Inside that folder, make a folder called MAT0. Don't enter MAT0 yet. Then you're going to click the import button. You're going to want to find your exported model. In my case, it's right here. Click open. In this, you're going to want to make sure skeletal mesh, import mesh are checked. Going to want to make sure change normal import method. You will probably be like this. You're going to click this drop down. Make sure these are checked. Preserve smoothing groups, import bone meshes. I believe those are checked by default, but just make sure. Change normal import method to import normals and tangents. Scroll down. Inside this this project, you'll have an mgeneric material. We're just going to use that to easily import and have a dummy material. We're not actually going to use mgeneric, but we'll get to that later. But just make sure mgeneric is selected in this dropdown. And then in base texture property, change that to diffuse. And then click import. This will import your model. Let me right click here. And then on your physics asset, for your physics asset, you're going to want to check what it's named in the game. Most of them are just the weapon ID, including the 0 and physics. I know Kingdom Key does not include the 0, so just double check and rename your physics asset properly. So in this case, I'm just removing asset. To note, say you get to this point, you're not actually replacing Starlight, but you used Starlight as a base for your model. You just want to make sure that you reference the physics in the skeleton of Starlight, or whatever model you're replacing, or whatever model you use as a base, excuse me. But for the most part, like I said, best practice is to just use the model that you're replacing, even though you don't technically need to. But anyway, you're going to select your material and your texture, put those in mat 0, or drag them on, click move to folder. We'll get to those later, but for now, leave them alone. Next, you're going to right click your skeleton. This is the same name as the base game one, but we're going to rename it really quick. So I'm just going to change the 2-letter icon for SO, or for the ID, in case I'm changing SO to DR, just a shortened version of the name into 2 letters. For this, you can name it pretty much anything, but I like to just do that and then press enter. Because we're going to make a custom skeleton, since we moved the bones of the Keyblade. We want to make a custom skeleton so that it works properly when we get it in game. Then with the skeleton selecting, hold Control W, and then you're going to want to rename it. Rename this duplicate one back to the base game one. So in this case, I renamed it back to WSO 150 skeleton. This is because we're going to use this in our custom skeleton as a reference to say, hey, this skeleton is similar but a little bit different from this skeleton, so it can do pretty much the same things, which is called compatible skeleton. So we're going to double click to open our custom skeleton. Up here on the top right, you'll see compatible skeletons list. Press the plus, drag the base game skeleton onto here. One thing I quickly want to note before I move on, if you are, say, replacing Sora's Oathkeeper or Oblivion, they use the skeleton and physics from Roxas's. So, for example, if I go to WSO 200 and WSO 210, you'll notice I have a custom skeleton in here. By default, it's just going to be the model. So there's no custom skeleton. Or WSO 210 is Oblivion. Same thing. I have a custom, but not the base one. Again, this is because they use Roxas's. So, like, if I go up to WEX 90 and 100, those are Roxas's. This is Oathkeeper. This is Oblivion. You just want to reference those ones. So, like, for example, if this was Oathkeeper, this was WSO 200, I'd want to rename these two to WEX 090 and 0200, or SO 200. Excuse me, sorry, no. WEX 090 physics and skeleton, and then move those to the proper folder in character instead of WSO 150, WEX 090. Because we want to reference those, because those are the base game ones and they don't actually exist for Sora's copies. They exist for Roxas's copies. But in this case, we're using a Keyblade that is only Sora's and it has its skeleton and everything properly. But yeah. So anyway, you drag the skeleton to here. Under Ignore Nodes, click plus, change none to chain 1. This basically tells it, like, in terms of the animations, ignore the first chain because we moved the first chain and all of the other chains, but everything after chain 1 is also included in this. So just don't include those in the animation because they're not, they were modified, so having them in the animation would mess it up. But anyway, it should look like this. And then, since we're making a custom skeleton, we need to recreate the sockets, which are basically the points where the attack hitboxes length and where visual effects appear on it. So to do that, we're going to, on the left, under WEP, right click and click Add Socket. We're going to name this ATK00. This is going to be the bottom of the hitbox. For this one, all you need to do is change relative rotation to 180. We're going to make 5 sockets on all 5 of them. The only rotation you want to edit is the x-axis and change that to 180. That is the only thing you want to edit on the rotation. For ATK00, you don't need to change anything else. Right-click WEP and add another socket. You name it ATK underscore 01. In this case, again, change the relative rotation on X to 180. And then you're going to want to, on the X for relative location, excuse me, you're going to want to drag it till you reach the tip of your keyblade. And then I like to round it up to a full number. So in this case, or a full or a half number. So in this case, I'm going to do 91.5. And that is right about at the tip of the weapon. ATK01, 00 and ATK01 are the hitbox length of the keyblade. So this is how long the keyblade is to hit. Then we're going to want to add another socket onto WEP. We're going to call this one VFX call. This one is basically where the light appears when you cast a spell. So this is going to be not quite at the end. You want it a little bit lower. In my case, I like to have it, roughly around there. So I'm going to say 75. So when I cast a spell, that's where the origin of the light is going to be. Next, we're going to do another socket, VFX top, or VFX underscore top. This one, you want it to be the X relative location to be the same as your ATK01. So I put 91.5. It's going to be the exact same. This one and the next one, which are going to be, is going to be VFX bottom. These are used to determine where the top and bottom of the swing trail is when you're swinging your keyblade. So VFX bottom. This one you want to put a little bit further up at around the base of the guard, or the base of the blade / guard. In this case, I think 12 is a good number. Then we're going to click save. You have all 5 of your custom sockets in the places that you want them. And then we are done there. That is our custom skeleton. It is saved. We don't need to touch it anymore. Next, we are going to add chain physics to our custom keyblade. So really quickly, you're going to want to right click, go under miscellaneous, and go to data asset. Then you're going to see a little bit, or a few down, you're going to see SQEX underscore Bonomic asset. Select that and click select. And then change it to the ID of your keyblade. So in this case, WSO150. And then underscore Bonamic, BONAMIK. Then save that. You're not going to include the underscore 0 after the ID number. Double click your weapon model. Under asset user data, click plus. This drop down, select KBD asset user data. Do a drop down, plus. At the bottom of this section that appeared, click plus twice. In the first drop down, select Bonamic asset user data. And in the second, select KineDriver asset user data. Then do the drop down for the Bonamic. Do it twice, and then in this first one, click plus, and drag your Bonamic file that you just made. And then save your model. And then there we go. That's chain physics. Done. All right. Now we're going to do the materials. So go into your Mat 0 folder. Basically, with these custom materials, we want to sort of mimic the naming structure of the base game materials. I don't know how strictly necessary this is, but when I've tried to do it by using whatever names I want, the game ends up crashing and just not liking it. So we're going to be mimicking the game's naming structure for its material and texture files, which makes it a lot easier to use the duplicate material anyways. So first you're going to click your material, which is going to be the green one that looks like a sphere, rename it, and then you're going to want to name it W, and then you're going to want to make a custom ID. Now you can use the same ID as the base game files, but I would recommend doing a custom one because it's best to not replace the base game materials, because sometimes it can cause conflicts. Like, for example, if you replace the material for Sora's Kingdom Key, Shion's kingdom key, the model won't be updated because she has her own copy of the model, but the materials will, so it won't look right. So what we're going to do is make a custom one. In my case, I'm going to use the same 2 letters that I did for the skeleton, and then I'm just going to do 000, and then underscore mat 0 underscore inst. Then you're going to want to rename your texture. In this case, I'm going to use the same ID, so W underscore DR0, DR000 underscore 0D00. That is for diffuse. And we're going to want to make a couple more textures. So in this case, I am going to quickly, whoopsie. If I quickly open up, let me quickly open up the Apro's custom weapon material tutorial. Drag that over here. If you'll notice, we're using this tutorial. We're going to want to make a mask texture. We're going to be using the non-emissive material. If you want to use the emissive material, just follow this tutorial. It'll be in the OpenKH Discord. Excuse me, I did not mean to open this door. In the OpenKH Discord under KH modding tutorials. Scroll up a little ways, you'll find a message from Aproidtex that says, custom weapon tutorial that'll link to this Google Doc. Anyway, we're going to be doing the non-emissive one. You're going to look at what color is what. So in my case, I am going to be using blue metal and red leather. So I'm going to open my texture for my model. I am going to select the handle. That is, I'm going to make that leather. So if I look once again back at this, red is leather, and then I'm going to use the rest as metal. So in this case, I'm going to change my color. I am using paint.net, by the way. That is my image editing program of choice. You can use pretty much any image editing program. I'll link paint.net in the description. But basically, I'm going to change this whole section to red. I'm going to invert my selection, and then I'm going to change my color to blue and make everything else blue. And this is going to be my mask texture. Basically, this just tells like what sections of the material of the texture, what sections of the texture rather, to make a certain material. So in this case, it's going to make everything in this red part of the material look like leather, and everything in the blue part of the material look like metal. And then I'm going to save as, and I'm going to just name this W, my same ID, DR000, 0M00, and then save. All right. And then you're going to, if you have a model, it may or may not have a normal map. If you have, I'm going to import the mask really quick. It may or may not have a normal map. If it does, you can just import that and rename it to be 0N00. If it doesn't, in your TraceGameU project, go to Maps, Common Textures. You'll see T placeholder normal. Drag and drop it to your material folder for your weapon, and then click copy here. And then I'm going to rename it to the file. So W, once again, same ID, 0N00. And then there's one more texture we want to make, which is going to be, basically, we're going to make the ambient occlusion texture, which basically just tells it how much a certain part of the model should react to light. Again, the model you downloaded may already have one of these, in which case you can just use that. In our case, we just want to make a completely white texture. So make white, and then file, save as, 0, same name, but instead of M, it's going to be O. So 0O00. Let's save. And then import that. So you should have 4 textures, D, M, N, O, and then the material. And then that is going to be all for all of that. Next, we are going to cover the excuse me. Next, we're going to go over the models for effects. Excuse me. Which will include the kind of ghost Keyblade model, I guess you could call it, that appears during the appear effect. So when the Keyblade is summoned or desummoned, there is sort of a clear outline version of it that is put on there. We're also going to be doing the hit stars, just the changing the shape of the hit stars. Outside of that, I will do a separate tutorial on how to do like more detailed hit stars, like with textures and stuff. But that's going to be a completely separate tutorial because that's way more in depth. But basically, what we're going to want to do: go back into Blender, have your model here. Select, or what you can do: select the skeleton, press delete. That'll delete the skeleton. Select your model, press Tab. Alt A to deselect everything. Then in the object data properties, select wep, select the wep bone, hold Control, press I, that'll select the chain, and then press XF. Because for this, we do not, So, I just noticed that there is a face that I missed when, so this face of this chain, this part of the chain is selected the web bone. So I'm going to fix that really quick. I'm going to show you how to fix that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select web, hold Control, drag and drop everything of the actual web bone, and I am left with this one. So I'm going to remove that selection from web. And then I'm going to go on the right chain, which in this case is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So select 5 and assign that to 5. And then, actually, I need to go back and do this while the skeleton is still here. Let me do that again really quick. Hold Control to deselect, remove, assign, deselect. Okay. And then I'm going to re-export this. There we go. So if you change your model in any way, go back, double click it, click re-import mesh, that'll fix it, and then you have to re-add your chain physics anytime you update or re-import your model. So let me do that really quick. Well, honestly kind of glad that happened because I showed you how to do fixes like that. But there we go. So let me quickly go ahead and delete everything. There we go, and that's not there anymore. Okay, so now we're left with just the weapon model, not the chain. And the reason we want to do this is because we're going to make the summon effect model. So if you go back into UModel, scroll all the way down past the character folder down to effects, once again wep, and then once again the weapon that you are replacing. You'll notice that there is a WSO 200. Usually there won't be a WSO 200 or 210 there for Sora's, Oathkeeper, and Oblivion because, again, like before, for the most part they use Roxases. So when it comes to that, you're going to want to replace models for Roxases. I'll go more in depth on how to not conflict with Roxases in a different tutorial. But basically, your find yours, go into MDL. You want to look through these models to find which one is the Keyblade. So in this case, this is TMD WSO150. Every Keyblade will have one of these models that is just the key without the chain, but it will likely be named slightly differently. You're just going to find which one it is and go from there. So in my case, it's TMD WSO150. So we're going to want to go back into Blender. Literally like 99 out of 100 times, it's going to be the exact same orientation. The one that I know is not and is really annoying is, I believe, is it 5.0? Is it 5.0? Is it this one? No. Which one is it 7.0? Yes, this is the only one that is oriented differently, ever after. So if you're replacing ever after, you just want to rotate your model 90 degrees on the x-axis to be like that. That is just if you're replacing ever after and using ever after as summon effect, but for pretty much every other one, I believe it's just like this. So if you're not replacing ever after, you don't have to rotate it at all. And then File, Export, FBX. Under Geometry, change Smoothing to Face, change Tangent Space, or check Tangent Space, and then under Armature, uncheck Add Leaf Bones. And then you're going to want to export your model as the one you are replacing. So let me go back and get that name again. So TMD WSO150. And then click Export FBX. And next we're also going to replace the star. In this case, I am just going to, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to take the star from here. Let me... Simplicity 6, I don't have an extra model ready, so I'm just going to use this for the star that I want to replace. So, excuse me. Should have been prepared for this, but I was not. Whoops. Separate it and delete it, and object set origin, geometry origin. Okay, so that just puts it in the center. Okay, so then same thing in UModel. You're going to want to find the star model. Again, it's going to be in your effects ID model folder. In this case, the Starlight one is Lux, but most of them are going to be named STR or star. Or something to that effect. Just look through the models again and find the one that you want. In this case, it is a Lux, so I'm going to file, open, and then I'm going to export this one. And then we are going to, once again, file, import, PSK, go to your UModels, export effects, your weapon model, and then import the star. Now you see this one is a lot larger than the one that I have, so I'm going to rotate 90. Boop. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then I'm going to scale it up so it lines up better. And do the same sort of thing I did with the weapon model. I'm going to select all the faces on my custom one, unselect all the faces on my old one, or my base game one, and then select my custom, select the base game, Control J, Tab, Control I, XF, get rid of the old one. Again, get rid of the old UV map, and then File, Export, FBX, and you're going to name it the name of the model from the base game, so in this case, TMD Lux 00. I named that wrong to put Lux instead of Lux, so fix that. Export. Then go back into your Unreal project. Under Content, create Effects, your weapon ID, MDL, import both your star and your summon effect model. In this case, you can delete the material and textures because you're not going to need those because the particle effects add material and texture automatically. Then save both of your models. All right, and then that is all we need to do for the effect model. If you want, you can also replace the swing trail. That'll be under your weapons effect folder under text or txt. In this case, Starlight doesn't have one, so it probably uses kingdom keys, if I were to guess, which is on WSO Ono text. It's going to be TX or ITX LOC00. So that's the swing trail for kingdom key. Some of them share some from others, but a lot of them have their own unique one. If they share one, there is a way to replace it, but again, that's a thing for another tutorial, because I'm not going over the swing trail in this tutorial, but because I think it's a kind of minor thing. But again, that's something I could do a tutorial for in the future. But if your Keyblade does have a TXT lock, you can just export this, edit it, and then re-import it in the right folder if you want. Yeah, because like everything you're importing, you want to be in the correct folder and named correctly because you are replacing a base game file. Okay, and now finally, the last thing we can do in Engine is going to be the images for the equipment menu as well as the Moogle Forge, both the Keyblade image for both of those as well as the chain charm image for the Keyblade Forge, Moogle Forge. If you already have those or if you already have images of what you want to use for those, you don't have to do this next step in Blender. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen my model file so I have the full model again. And then I am going to pose my Keyblade model to take a picture of it, or to take like a screenshot of it that I can use. So I'm quickly going to pose the bones so that the charm is, or so that the chain is like curved like this. Then I'm going to go to texture paint to show the textures. And then I'm going to do a clip screenshot of it by holding the Windows button, Shift S. That's going to bring up the snip and sketch tool, drag my selection of my weapon, and then open paint.net, click new, or it auto selects the dimensions of the clipboard, click OK, and then paste. Then I'm going to get my magic wand tool, select the gray area around and change the tolerance to 0%. And then also do so in there, or in the little loop, and that's just gonna select all of the gray space that I want to delete, and then click delete to get rid of all of it. So now I have a transparent background image. Control A, C. This is just an easy way to get a screenshot of the model. If you already have one of the model or art or something, you can just use that, like I said. Oh, that's not what I wanted to make. Then when you have this selected, copy it with Control C. Control A to select all, and then Control C to copy it. And then you're going to make an image with the size 1024 by 1024. Control A and then delete to delete the white background, and then Control V to put your thing in to do keep canvas size. And then you're going to want to rotate and pose your art of the thing. Now you can just leave it like this. I like to add a little drop shadow with the effects object and then drop shadow. I like to do that. It just adds a little bit of depth to it. I think it's nice, but it's not necessary. Then you want to file, save as. And then we're going to want to quickly find the ID that we want to name it. So we're going to go to plus modding, or sorry, in the link in the description, there's this Locres editor website. This is going to be what we use to change the text in game, but it will also let us find the number for the images for most of them except Elemental Encoder, but I'll go over that really quick in a second. So choose files. You're going to want to load in my tutorial files in localization game, and then whatever language you're doing this for. I'm just doing English. You want to scroll down to KH3 item, click load, edit. This is all of the localization for all the items in the game. You're going to want to find the Keyblade you're replacing. In my case, Starlight is 14. Just to set it up for later, so in my case, so let's go over the images first before I go over the block res. So in my case, Starlight is 14. So that means when I'm saving my model, I'm going to want to do weapon 014. So for all, we're going to save this twice. For weapon, there's going to be 3 numbers. So if it's like 1, you're going to do 001. If it's 14, you're going to do 014. And then click save. And then click File, Save As, and then Keyblade 14. In this case, there is just 2 numbers, so no leading zeros if it's 14, and 1 leading 0 if it's 1, or whatever single digit number. Next, I'm going to go in. To note, when you're taking a screenshot of the model, you click this button up here, and that gets rid of everything except the model itself, so you don't have any of the the grid. I should have noted that, so you don't have the grid to get rid of. But anyway, now I'm going to undo all of my posing. Select the model. I'm going to just select chain 6. I'm going to press P by selection. Under this drop down, I'm going to hide this one and keep the chain. And then quickly, I am going to select this part and delete it. Basically, just get it to where it's just the chain, however you need to do that. And then hide everything again, and then just screenshot this. And then we're going to do, oh, that's the wrong program. Then we're going to do basically the same thing. Paste, boop, boop, delete, Control AC, make a new one. I'm going to make this one 512 by 512. This one is going to be for the Moogle Forge charm. And then again, just pose it how we want. It's usually at this sort of angle, and then effects, repeat drop shadow, and then file, save as. This one is going to be chain top, and then whatever number you got from the lockers file. Now, like I said, elemental encoder is going to be a different number from what it says in here. That is the only one that is different. Elemental encoder in here is 15. For the images, it is 17. So that is the only instance of that happening. Everything else is going to be the same number. So now what we're going to do is go back into our Unreal Engine project, again in content, make a folder called UI, go into that folder, make a folder called icon, and then inside icon, you're going to make 2 folders, one called item and one called Keyblade. Go into the item folder, click import, import the one that is weapon, double click that. Under MipGen settings, change that to no mip maps and uncheck sRGB and click save. That's all you need to change there. Keyblade, import both chain top and Keyblade, and then go into each of those and change the same settings to the same thing. Save. Okay, and then that is everything we need to do for inside Unreal Engine. Now we want to cook the files. So quickly before you do that, go into Edit, Project Settings, go to Packaging, scroll down, or sorry, not scroll down yet. At the top, make sure Use Pack File is not checked, then scroll down, and then you're going to see all of this. Basically, what you want to do is make sure that all of you actually, you shouldn't need to change anything here. If There was some kind of check mark. Okay, yeah, don't worry about this then. You should, oh, if cook only maps is checked, you can uncheck that unless you're messing with maps, in which case you can do that and then add the character and effects folders to this additional asset directly to cook, but it looks like it's not what I thought it was, so you shouldn't need to mess with any of this as it is. So as for the project settings, only just make sure that use pack file is not checked. And then you want to go to File, then click Cook Content for Windows. Then you'll see you're going to wait for this to cook. Let me go to the folder that you need to go to really quick, which is going to be in your projects folder. Then go to Saved, Cooked, Windows No Editor, Trace Game. This is going to be where the cooked files get, but we're going to wait till that finishes. While we are waiting for that to finish, we're going to edit the text from the game for the weapon. So in this case, we're replacing Starlight. So right above Starlight, I'm going to hold left click and then drag upward. So I select everything until I get to right below the name KH3 item.weapon, and then delete all of that. And then we're going to want to scroll down, find KB14. This is going to be the description of each of these weapons. It's going to match the number above. So we're going to scroll or select everything between the description and the Keyblade name, delete that. Then we're going to select after the Keyblade name and then go and drag everything else and delete that. So I'm going to change the name, which is going to be, again, this is commission, so I'm just changing the name to what the one commissioning me wants. Let me get Discord off the screen so I can go to that, so I don't leak my DMs. Kick W. Go up to where he has that, and then do a Keyblade whose strength is ambition. I'm going to copy that and then paste that here. Okay. One thing to note, if you paste something into here and it has an apostrophe, I would recommend just deleting that apostrophe and then re-adding it. Because sometimes when you paste an apostrophe, it adds like a space after it that you don't really want. I don't know why it does that, but it does sometimes. So you just want to delete and re-add the apostrophe, and that should fix it. And then after where we just pasted, you'll notice the form changes section. If you want to change the form changes name, I'm actually going to go over that this time. I'm going to change this. He wants it to be second form D. But this just changes it in the menu. This doesn't change the reaction command. So we're also going to change the reaction command for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my progress in this file by clicking import from text. That saves it up here. So we're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to choose another file from the localization, which is going to be KH3 system. We're going to load and edit that. I'm going to Control F to find situation, and then we're going to right above that drag it up all the way until it's right above KH3 system.general. Delete. And then I'm going to Control F again, and I'm going to find the form that I want to change, in this case, second form S, which is right here. I'm going to delete everything between that name and the category. And then I'm just going to select these three, Control C, and I'm going to go back into my item one, edit, and paste. And then I'm also going to change that to second form D. So now I have the item name change, the description change, and the form name change for the reaction command all in the same file. Once again, I'm going to click import from text, and this time I'm going to click save. Oh, let me delete that one, save, and then it'll appear up here. I want to click the blue text, it'll download it. I'm going to now remove it from my downloads folder. And now, let me leave it in my downloads folder because I might need to go. So we're going to keep that in my downloads. We'll get back to that in a second. So now you're going to want to go to the folder where you have all of your mod files. In my case, it's in my commissions folder. I'm going to make a new folder. This is going to be what you want to name your pack file for your mod. So in this case, I'm just going to do Dreamer Keyblade. I would recommend using underscores instead of spaces. I don't know if that's really necessary, but that's just kind of a habit. Sometimes these kind of things don't like having spaces. Again, you may be able to do spaces. I don't really know, but I just like to use underscores. Inside that folder, you're going to make a folder called Kingdom Hearts 3 in all caps with 3 in Roman numerals, I instead of the number 3. Inside of that folder, you're going to want to make a folder called Content. And then we're going to go back to go into the content folder and go back to our cooked files, since our game has finished cooking the files. Under Saved, Cooked, Windows Not Edited Trace Game, Content, we're going to select Character, Effects, and UI. Drag everything into there. Or drag all 3 of those into there. For effects and UI, you don't need to touch anything, but in Character, you want to go into where your model is. You're going to want to delete the physics and skeleton from the base game, as well as the bonomic from the base game. You want to keep the model itself and your custom skeleton. Those should both be staying in the files. Everything, those other ones you delete. Inside of mat 0, once again, delete the mat0.inst, because we're going to make a new one, or we're going to like copy over a new one. In this case, again, I'm going to include this in my tutorial files. It's not in there right now, but I'm going to include this in there. It's going to be this WEX060 mat0.inst, or inst. I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. And then we're going to rename it to what it was in the base game. This is the... so in this DR00, we're going to rename it to the one that we used in Engine, rather. So this is the custom material from Eproitix, which is... you can also download from his thing here, but I'm going to include it in mine as well. But a credit to him for making this tutorial and setting this up. It really helps a lot. But yeah, so now we are going to want to... We'll go from a UNOT folder. Again, another thing I'm going to include in my tutorials file zip is this US@GUI. Open this program US@GUI. File, open, and then navigate to your mod folder, and then go all the way in to this mat0inst. Note that I renamed it to have the ID, and select that USet. And then under name map, you're going to want to rename a bunch of these lines. So in this case, this is the file structure to this file itself, as well as all of the textures that use it. So we're going to reference the right ones. So in this case, under the where it says WEX060, we're going to want to do the ID of the weapon we are replacing from the game. So in this case, WS150, because we are in that folder. So all 5 of these lines, you're going to want to change from EX060 to WS150. Or whatever one you're replacing. I should note that there is more than just this material that you can use. You can use basically any game material from the base game. You could duplicate it and use it. But I'm going to go over some other ones in a separate tutorial. Ones I plan to go over is the Ultima weapon material, which has the galaxy and the glitter stars effect. I'm also going to go over Axel's Flame Liberator, which has the fire effect, that sort of thing for those. So we renamed the folder. Now at the end of each of these lines, we're going to rename the file. Now this is going to be our custom ID. So in this case, DR000. I like to copy this so that I can just select and then paste, Control V. That just makes it a little quicker. So now all of these match all of these file names, and then on the same folder. And then I'm going to Control S, and then we're going to want to, that just saves it, and then we're going to scroll down all the way, because it also has the file names by themselves, and we want to do the same thing, edit those file names by themselves to match ours. and then Control S to save. And that's all we need to do. Now we have a custom weapon material. It will fade properly, and it'll have cool details on it to match the material that we wanted it to replace. So I'm going to delete these .back files. Those are just backups. I delete them because they just take up a little bit of space that we don't really need to be there. But from there, now we're going to go back up to the content level. I'm going to make a new folder called Localization. Inside Localization, I'm going to make a new folder called Game. And inside Game, I'm going to make a new folder called EN. Or in this case, again, I'm doing English. You want to do whatever language you are replacing for this. Next, we're going to go back to my downloads folder, get this KH3 item, I'm going to cut and paste, and you want to rename it to be a unique name that won't replace anything from the base game. In this case, it technically already is, but I like to name it to, it technically already is because it has all the leading, like the date and everything, but I like to rename it anyway so it's matches the mod that I'm doing. So in this case, I'm going to do Dreamer and then lock en. So the localization for Dreamer in English, basically. But it can be named anything as long as it doesn't replace anything from the base game. Excuse me. Okay. Then you're going to want to go all the way up to your base folder because we are done with the mod now. We are going to now pack the mod. Now for this, you're going to need a program called Unreal Pack. I will quickly... Again, this is going to be included in my tutorial files, I believe. Let me double check. Yes, it is. So you're going to get these files here. Basically, what you want to do to make this process a lot better, what you can do is you can just drag and drop your folder onto that, and that works fine. But excuse me, it's a little annoying to have this folder open. So what you can do is you can right click both of these, right click and do create shortcut, and then rename that like Unreal Pack Compression. And then you could do the same thing and name that Unreal Pack No Compression, but we're only going to need the compression one. But then you're going to want to go into here, your search bar, click Run, press Enter, and then do shell send to. That'll open this folder, and then you just put the shortcut into your send to folder. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it anymore. But then from there, that lets you just right click the folder, do send to, and then it'll have that shortcut in here. So I can just do that and it does it automatically. It's really nice. It makes it a lot quicker and you don't have to have an extra folder open. So now we have a pack folder. I'm going to copy that and then put it in our mods folder. In your KH3 installation folder, content packs, make a folder called ~mods. If you've been installing mods before, you probably already have this. I'm going to paste it in here. In my case, I have a lot of mods installed, so I am going to rename mine to have a bunch of Z's at the end, so that I make sure it loads last, this so I can show you it properly. Excuse me. And then we're going to load into the game. So I'm going to quickly cut to load into the game because I have some other mods installed that are not ready to be shown yet. So usually I would just load it up and show you from the title screen, but I'm just going to cut to being in game already. So give me a little bit. Okay, we are now in game. I am at the Coliseum. Shout out to Project. This is an amazing mod, but this is just where I loaded in to show you all the mod. But I'm going to go into my equipment menu, and you can see I already have Starlight equipped, or in this case, Dreamer, as it was called. But yeah, we have it installed. I will note, I have a conflicting mod, so the summon effect is not this. Ignore that, it is not correct. It uses the base game Starlight summon effect. I have another mod over Starlight that modifies it, so, but yeah, as you can see, chain physics and everything. But yeah, a custom mod. You'll notice that stars are there, which is cool. Yeah, so that's basically it for Hopefully I did not forget anything. If I did, y'all will probably have seen some cuts in the video. Yeah, thanks for watching. Again, I plan on making more tutorials. I plan on making a Kingdom Hearts 2 weapon mod tutorial. So yeah, keep an eye on my channel. Tutorials coming. I really like when people are able to learn how to mod. So yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate it. And if you have any questions, join the Open KH Discord server and we can help you there. See ya.